It's Memorial Day weekend. Time to get out the bats, the balls, and the beer. In that tradition, we'll have the story of Jim Bouton, Yankees pitcher turned sales pitcher. As for the beer, consumption of all alcoholic beverages is down, so we'll look at how the liquor industry is trying to stay afloat. I'm Cindy Vandor.
And I'm Richard Townley. Also this week, a crash course in commodities, where you can learn to trade futures alongside a former school teacher, a bartender, even a pastry chef. And we'll show you how to protect a summer home, to keep the fun times in and the burglars out.
This is the Wall Street Journal Report, produced by Independent Network News and the Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street Journal Report is brought to you in part by the Norelco Men's Razor, by AT&T, and by your Savings and Loan Foundation.
Americans are drinking less and becoming increasingly antagonistic towards those who drink too much. Sobering trends for the liquor industry. Here's a look at why this industry is on the rocks and how that affects what consumers can expect to, well, consume. A night on the town, that promotion or ball game you work so hard to win, were the times to have a drink, but times have changed.
I have to go to work next morning, I have certain responsibilities, and I enjoy myself without alcohol.
This is Gorshin's, New York City's first bar to serve drinks with no alcohol in them at all. Establishments like Gorshin's are springing up in Chicago, Los Angeles, and other places, and are just one of many signs of sobriety troubling the liquor industry. Per capita consumption of distilled spirits has dropped every year since 1980. Beer drinking fell in 1982 and went flat in '83. Even wine consumption has lagged behind the big growth years of the 70s.
There's so much emphasis today on physical fitness, on health maintenance, on being thinner, on controlling your weight, controlling consumption of alcohol, cigarettes, and anything else that may damage your body.
There's also more emphasis on curbing drunk driving. In 35 states, bar owners can now be sued if they continue to serve intoxicated customers who subsequently caused accidents. And increasingly, other businesses are also being held liable. In April, a court ruled that the deaths of 4 people were in part the fault of a New Jersey firm. The fatal accident occurred when a drunken employee driving home after a company Christmas party ran a red light.
If you don't stop your friend from drinking and driving, you're as good as dead.
Anti-drunk driving campaigns have become powerful political movements, garnering supporters as diverse as Reagan and Jackson, Michael Jackson. As a result, the minimum legal drinking age nationwide is expected to rise soon to 21. All of this poses a delicate problem for the liquor industry: how to encourage sales without seeming to encourage more drinking.
What you really want is for more people, and this is the big difference, to consume your product, not people to consume more of your product to a degree where it becomes, where they become dangerous.
We are people too, when we have families and concerned about drunk driving and the abuse of alcohol. We think that the proper way to approach this is to conduct an aggressive fight against the abuse of alcoholic beverages.
Seagram's is trying to do this. Industry trade groups are going into schools and offices and onto the airwaves to promote moderation. But no matter how effective industry efforts are, the future still looks bleak.
We look at the Scotch business and we say we are in a fight for share of market. We would project that the Scotch business in America will probably decline over the next 5 to 10 years. Ergo, how do you maintain volume? That's by increasing share. So it's going to come out of someone else's hide.
And that someone else could be the bottled water business or the soda pop industry, since the newest drinks to be introduced are alcohol-free or lower proof, or they're cordials, cream liqueurs, or wine coolers. Stroh's, Anheuser-Busch, and other brewers are test marketing beer with half the ordinary alcoholic content. Hiram Walker's and Häagen-Dazs ice cream are collaborating on a 34-proof cream liqueur, while Hubline is going after women and others who like their drinks light with Esprit, a 10-proof carbonated beverage.
The whole liquor industry is really suffering from maturity. The major consumers of hard liquor have been people over the age of 45. They have sold all the booze that they're going to sell to a certain group of people.
So in the future, analysts expect liquor companies to continue to diversify into non-alcoholic businesses. Seagram's bought a major stake in DuPont, and Brown-Forman, makers of Canadian Mist, after a 20% plunge in net income, can console itself with the purchase of the Lennox China Company.
In a moment, we'll tell you how money funds are making it easier for you to get at your cash. And we'll take you to the pits, show you how high-stakes careers are born. You'll soon be able to get your money out of the money fund as easily as ATM. That stands for automatic teller machine, the kind banks use to dispense cash. Next week, Merrill Lynch will allow access to its cash management accounts through machines in 60 California Safeways. Customers of the reserve fund accounts can withdraw their funds from machines in 5 mid-Atlantic states, and other money funds are considering going automatic as well. Civilian unemployment has been stuck at 7.8% the past 2 months, and economists don't expect much improvement when the May figures come out next Friday. On Wall Street, investors couldn't find much to smile about this week. Concern over the hostilities in the Persian Gulf and the rescue operation at Continental Illinois National Bank sent the market to its lowest level in 13 months on Monday. Rising interest rates sent stocks even lower on Tuesday. Worries about the banking system, and especially Continental Illinois, triggered more losses on Wednesday and Thursday. Stocks rose on technical factors Friday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closing at 1107.10. That works out to a loss of 26 points on the week.
If you've ever wondered what it feels like to be a trader, you can find out at no risk. 4 times a year at the New York Futures Exchange, and at times at other commodities markets, a 3-day course is offered. For $25, you're thrown into those pits with the pros to learn how to trade futures for yourself. We sent Ian Hunter to see how it's done.
First stop, the complex housing the New York Futures Exchange. To join a group of would-be traders to learn and practice trading.
This is not somewhere where you just come because you have a few extra $1,000 and you say, I'm going to get rich tomorrow. It doesn't work that way.
Her name, Chris Palladino, school teacher turned futures trader. A career change that wasn't planned.
I just came here to visit someone, and I could not believe how exciting it was. I began to come every day.
That was 2 years ago. Today, she makes 10 times what she did in her teaching days. Struggling, sweating, screaming herself hoarse, bawling just like every other trader.
The ingredients are really simple. You have to feel good about yourself. To handle risk is not an easy concept. But if you're a decision maker and you feel good about yourself, you're 90% home.
And you'd better be feeling good. These traders buy and sell stock index futures. Each contract represents about $45,000 worth of stock, bought for just 3% down. The price follows the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index. Whenever the price changes a 1/20th of a point, traders win or lose $25. It can happen every few seconds. It's all done with hand signals, and it's held together by trust.
A man's word is his bond.
Bert Friedlander and Tony Dowd briefing would-be traders on the basics of the pit. Information screens, hand signals.
I bought one at 20. All right, sold you one at 10.
We'll practice for a few minutes, starting at the bell.
First we say, God bless.
Do you remember that first morning that you were going to come down here and actually get into that pit for real?
I got in the pit and my knees were hitting each other. And the bell rang to signal the beginning of trading. And I had forgotten every book I'd read, everything I'd ever studied. I didn't even know we were trading at that point.
Ty DeCordova is 24. He's been trading for his own account since last September, becoming a true believer in the trader's gospel, discipline and control.
Discipline is when you're wrong, and get out. Control is when there's panic in the pit. Other people are panicking. Don't panic.
The risks are fearsome. The potential rewards awesome. Nothing between you and a 6-figure income, if you've got the right stuff. And maybe 2 out of 10 do. A hard way to make easy money, they say.
We have a fellow in the pit, Bert Freeland's, and every morning as the bell rings, he yells out, "God bless America." And to most of us, it means here's a chance for the American dream. There's still a chance to make it. And to make it in any way you want and make as much as you want.
You don't necessarily have to come to New York to become a futures trader. There are 10 major exchanges across the country. Besides New York, they're located in Chicago, Kansas City, and Minneapolis. They trade not only in stock index futures, but futures contracts in commodities, ranging from grain to leaded regular gasoline. Membership prices range from less than $15,000 to more than $300,000, although some of the exchanges will lease you a seat on a temporary basis. I'm Ian Hunter for the Wall Street Journal Report.
And if you'd like a transcript of Ian's report, we'll give you an address at the end of the program where you can write us.
And coming up, we'll tell you how to protect your summer home when you aren't there, and show you U.S. carmakers' biggest success story of 1984.
It's cheaper to drive a car this year than a year ago, according to the AAA. Cheaper gas, tires, and finance charges dropped the cost of owning and operating a new car to 23 cents a mile, down 0.8 cents from a year ago. The IRS sets an even lower figure, which is why you can deduct only 20.5 cents a mile if you drive your car for business. The business of making cars is going into such a high gear that manufacturers cannot keep up. Pontiac Fierros and other two-seater sports cars are some of the hottest sellers, particularly popular with the baby boom generation. GM rolls out 30 Fierros every hour and has workers on double shifts, but it still has a backlog of 75,000 dealer orders. Pontiac paved the way. Now other car makers will wheel out two-seater coupes. Toyota, Chrysler, Buick, and Cadillac plan sporty models. Rick?
A burglary takes place every 10 seconds in the United States. Prime targets are summer houses, sitting as they do in quiet, secluded settings. But there is a way to protect your house and at the same time get a cut in the cost of your homeowner's insurance, as Donna Hanover explains.
A summer home is an escape, a pleasure, a release from the pressures of city life. It can also be a nightmare if you arrive one weekend to find burglars have taken your stereo and furniture and left your summer paradise in a shambles.
When we arrived on Friday night, we discovered that our home had been ransacked. All my Frank Sinatra tapes had been stolen. The house had been gone through completely. We had a broken window. We had glass all over our bed. And about a year and a half after that, it happened again.
This man on Long Island, New York, decided to do something. The same thing that is making home security a $1.7 billion business this year. He installed an alarm system. If someone enters his home, it will set off an alarm, both at the house and at the radio surveillance security company. Then security personnel will take action.
Is everything all right?
The purpose is not to catch the burglar.
We know from experience that once they hear the siren, they leave. And our primary concern is to get the perpetrator out of the building.
A security system can run anywhere from about $1,000 to more than $100,000, depending on the size of your property and how much protection you want. Sometimes the windows are wired, so when a window is raised, an alarm goes off. A similar device for doors releases a plunger when the door is opened, sounding the alarm. As for less civilized forms of entry, there is the stress sensor.
When someone punches the glass or throws a brick through the glass, the unit shakes. It then sends signals back to the processor in the control, and the control analyzes these signals and says, someone's coming through the glass.
Once the burglar is inside, infrared monitors that detect body heat and floor sensors that detect someone walking around can also set off alarms. The homeowner usually has a control box into which he can dial a code number to let the security company know the person in the house belongs there. There is the option of arranging for private security patrols to check out your property once a day or more often. At radio surveillance, the daily visit costs $60 a month. Security personnel look for anything unusual. If they come responding to an alarm, they approach more cautiously, and if they find evidence that the house has been entered, they call the police for help. Police say in general, security systems are quite effective, although the number of false alarms can be aggravating. There are, of course, other things that you can do to protect your house. You can avoid the vacant look by using timers to turn on lights and radios, and make sure you have good locks.
A lot of people are very ill-secured. They have regular
lock, or a lock where one can break a window, a small pane, and reach in and open the door.
Well, the most important thing to remember is a solid door jamb. The plate here should be really tightly screwed into the wood. You should have some type of protection here with a nail or something to hold this small piece of molding here so that you can't slip a credit card in the back. If a deadbolt's put in and it's nice and deep, it'll hold that much more.
Before you choose a security company, check out its reputation in your area. Some companies are not careful about the backgrounds of the people they hire, and with some you can get defective or badly installed systems. After 2 break-ins, our Long Island family found a reputable company, paid several $1,000s to protect their 3-bedroom summer home, and felt it was well worth the price.
We have peace of mind is really what we bought.
Donna Hanover for the Wall Street Journal Report.
The outfield pulled around to the right. 3-1 pitch. Buckler hit off the end of the bat to Horner. He's up and throwing. That's it, the first. He got him out.
Business has never been better in baseball. And this Memorial Day weekend, we look at the business of being big league. To do that, we have the story of a man whose entire ball career earned him only $150,000, half the average year's salary now. Yet Jim Bouton still makes a big league living. At age 24, he was living out the All-American dream.
Willie Davis strikes out in the Dodgers 6th.
Pitching in a World Series for the New York Yankees. But Jim Bouton was not satisfied with the simple glories of having his face on the bubblegum cards. In 1970, he wrote a book called Ball 4, which told the shocking truth that baseball players aren't saints.
The baseball commissioner said that it was bad for baseball and it destroyed heroes, and it would probably mean the end of Western civilization as we know it.
After publication of that sinful and profitable book, almost nobody in baseball got mad when Bouton traded his Yankee pinstripes for a TV sportscaster's uniform.
In tennis, Bjorn Borg is seeded #1.
But he still hadn't gotten baseball out of his system. And in 1976, he began the slow comeback road to the major leagues. At age 39, he made it when another 39-year-old maverick, Ted Turner, gave him a shot at pitching for the Braves.
1, 2, 3. Another standing ovation for Bouton.
There he was, the guy other players loved to hate, fanning him. He even kept his old trademark, the hat that wouldn't stay put.
In a full season, Bouton would wear out about 20 hats.
But a funny thing happened on the way to the dugout. After Bouton made it back to the major leagues, he found out he didn't have to do baseball anymore. He thought about a conversation he'd had back in the minor leagues the previous year.
Guys were all chewing tobacco, and it was making them sick to their stomach. I said, what do you guys chew this stuff for if it makes you sick? And they said, well, because we need it for our image. And just at that moment, the kid sitting next to me said, you know, too bad there isn't something that looks good like tobacco, but tastes good like gum. You know, shredded gum. I said, that is a great idea. Shredded gum in a pouch. Call it Big League Chew. Sell it to every kid in America.
But first he had to convince chewing gum companies that the idea wasn't a wild pitch. He and the other player who originally thought it up made batches of gum in his kitchen and spent a year and a half selling the idea. Finally, they found a gum company willing to bite.
Big League Chew sold $18 million worth in the first year, capturing 8% of the bubblegum market. And since then, it has averaged between $10 and $15 million a year in sales.
But the road to riches hasn't always been smooth. There was the baseball calculator designed to let the fans match up opposing pitchers and predict the game's outcome, a flop. And there was an attempt to cash in on the Rubik's Cube craze with something called Rodney's Cube, named for comedian Rodney Dangerfield.
We introduced it at the end of the Rubik's Cube boom. When Rubik's Cubes were going down, we just came out with a Rodney's Cube. So it's another problem with timing.
Another flop. But Bouton, entrepreneur, doesn't give up easily. He's gone back to his big league roots, trying to match the bubblegum success with another, to let everyone have their face on baseball cards. After all, that's when he knew he'd made it.
I like the Charlie Brown cartoon where Lucy is arguing with Schroeder about whether Beethoven is a great artist or not. And Lucy finally wipes him out in the last panel. She says, if he's so great, how come he's not on a bubblegum card?
But making a buck from baseball cards hasn't proven easy. Another company already tried and failed. Bouton's found a way to make cards in small batches, 50 cards for about $30. But to make them a success takes old-fashioned hustle, something Bouton is known for.
You can offer it as gifts to your clients or your top accounts.
At trade shows and on the banquet circuit, he mixes salesmanship and humor to sell his products. And he entertains with a few stories about other former big leaguers, like Mickey Mantle.
I don't want to say Mickey was drunk the night before, but he spent about a half an hour trying to make a telephone call from a grandfather's clock.
After playing hit-and-run ball with his life, the 45-year-old Bouton seems to have found what he's really good at, selling Jim Bouton. He gets support in that effort from his second wife.
When I finally did, I felt very pleased.
Now at the breakfast table, he heads first for the business pages, not the sports section.
I have a lot of memories of baseball, and I enjoy telling the stories, but I have no itch to go back and play.
But he thinks there's some of the big leaguer in all of us, and he believes he can tap that spirit for a profit.
The idea I'm working on right now is a larger concept than big league cards. It's big league enterprises, which is a line of products that give consumers the psychic reward of feeling like a big leaguer.
And yet, can mere business compare with serving them up from the pitcher's mound, with the fans blowing the roof off?
You gamble your time. I have a lot of money in this project. Boy, you know you're alive. You wake up in the morning, you know you're living.
Well, after all these years, baseball is being very, very good to Jim Bouton. That's our final inning for this week.
But we will be up again next week when we'll show you how you can ride these wheels to Atlantic City's Wheels of Fortune. Bargain deals to lure you to the tables.
See you next week. How about you?
Love one.
The Wall Street Journal Report was brought to you in part by the GTE Corporation, by Ford and your local Ford dealer, and by Goodyear. For a transcript of the Wall Street Journal Report, send a $2 check or money order to WPIX-TV, 220 East 42nd Street, New York City, 10017.